Okay, hello, ladies. Well, here we are. So tonight's conversation is with Dr. Katharine Schneller. She's a naturopathic doctor with inclusive natural medicine in Chandler, Arizona. And I'm super excited to have her again. This is so cool to have the whole entire conversation focused on naturopathic medicine because it's one of my passions personally. And I will just give the floor to Dr. Katie and have everyone else mute yourself for now, and I'll let you introduce yourself, okay?
Sure. Everybody's muted, silenced. Hi guys, Dr. Katharine Schneller. As Stephanie mentioned, I am a naturopathic physician. I'm in my second year of practice and I'm located in Chandler, Arizona. I work at a facility called Mindful Medicine, and my personal branding is inclusive natural medicine. I am happy to talk about anything and everything related to naturopathic medicine and how I got into the program, what the curriculum looks like, anything like that. Stephanie sent me some handfuls of questions, but also if you feel like you have a question, is there a way that they can sort of interject, Stephanie? You're muted too.
We have a chat option, and
okay, perfect.
that opens it up to everyone. I think you can open it up yourself on your screen.
Okay. Oh, I can see it. Okay, great.
Cool. Yeah, so that's a good way for us to ask questions without interrupting you. Okay, cool. So the goals of our presentation tonight are to bring attention and awareness to the practice of naturopathic medicine because it is a viable option not only as an alternative medicine, but in a lot of states you can actually have a naturopath as your primary care physician. I think that is also true in Arizona, but only with select insurance companies. You'll have to check with your insurance company to verify that. However, the whole focus of our club, the Pre-Health Integrative Holistic and Quantum Club, is to bring you information about these alternative practices and alternative medicines to give you what you need for the potential of whatever career you're stepping into. Also to give you an opportunity to understand these therapies in case you need them or in case you want to pursue this particular field or even shadow someone in your neighborhood that does this type of work. So with that, the first question for you, Dr. Katie, is what type of services do you offer in your practice?
Sure. I actually, if you don't mind, just so that I know where everybody's at, could you either maybe unmute, or can we all go into the chat? Would everybody let me know where they are and if they're like a graduate student, if they're in the middle of a program right now? Okay, or what state you're in is also fine. I'm more thinking if you're in a completely unrelated healthcare field or another position. Okay. So Arizona nutrition undergrad. Oh, Stephanie.
Yeah.
Give everybody a second to undergrad, integrative health, medical device company, ASU and healthy lifestyle coaching. Okay, good. Some integrative health stuff. Okay. I'm not sure that we've got everybody. Timothy, maybe you were waiting on. Christina, Mary. Well, feel free to answer whenever you like. Let's see. Junior healthy lifestyles. Okay.
Cool.
Cool. Yeah, that's good to know. Sometimes it's good to understand your audience before you just go into the whole spiel about what everything is, because some people know a good amount about naturopathic medicine and other people don't. So, Stephanie, your first question. What services do you offer? Okay.
Right. So what do you offer in your naturopathic practice?
Sure. So the great thing about Southwest College of Naturopathic Medicine, which is located in Tempe here in Arizona, is that we have the widest scope of practice. So what that means is that out of all of the 5 naturopathic medical colleges in the US, plus another 2 in Canada, we naturally integrated into the curriculum learn the most. So for example, Bachelor in Seattle, Washington, well, Kenmore, Washington, right outside Seattle, they have to do a separate degree to learn Chinese medicine. Arizona does not require that. So we already have traditional Chinese medicine integrated into the curriculum. We have botanical medicine, which is the practice of using plants and herbs to help treat and cure. We learn physical medicine. So those are adjustments, manipulations, muscle testing like a chiropractor does. We, of course, learn nutrition, exercise. We also have 2 years of homeopathy. Gosh, am I forgetting anything? I think that's all. But essentially what everybody ends up practicing is whatever they end up falling in love with in school. So for me, I do some pain medicine. So that means that I can do regenerative injections. Intra-articularly, I do trigger point injections, but I also really love the mental emotional piece of not just pain, but stress and any other type of symptomology. So I do a lot of sort of what might be considered more counseling sort of medicine. So we do a lot of listening. Our initial intakes are between 60 and 90 minutes with each patient. And then after that, they're, depending on what mode of therapy we use, either between 30 to another 60 minutes usually. So for me, to answer the question then, what services I offer is a lot of regenerative medicine. I do general medicine. In Arizona, we do have prescribing rights up to Schedule 2. So we're educated on pharmacology as well in pharmaceuticals, and we will use those when applicable and necessary. And I do Chinese medicine quite frequently. I really love acupuncture. And other than that, nutrient IVs, we are also trained in. That's one of my favorite things. I worked with a lot of the addiction population while I was going through school, so I'm a pretty good stick. And I really enjoy getting people nutrients that way instead of trying to coach people to, you better eat perfect or else, and so there's of course diet and nutrition counseling, but IVs are a quick, easy way to get people the nutrients they need. So a very wide range to answer your question.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So then my next question, you kind of covered a little bit. What are the primary benefits of working with a naturopathic doctor?
Yeah.
I would say as opposed to a medical doctor.
Sure. Well, number one, we're not ruled by pharmaceutical companies and insurance companies. So we can take as long as we want to with our patients, as long as they'll let us. And as I mentioned, we have the widest scope in Arizona. So if you need your thyroid medication refilled, we can do that. And I can treat you with Chinese medicine, and I can tell you what herbs are best to help with your reflux. So we're really well-rounded. Maybe you'll get into this about the education about it or not, but
with the career path questions,
yeah, okay. I was gonna say how many hours everything is. So it's definitely a commitment. Each year you complete a bachelor's degree worth of credits, and you're in your medical school program for 4 to 5 years, depending on which track you do. So it's an enormous commitment, but very, very well worth it, because when you're done, you know a lot and you have a lot of resources you can use too, in case you need a refresher, because it's a lot of information.
Great.
Mm-hmm.
It's great that you have resources. How often do you go back to your college? Do you participate in anything there? It's not on the list, but I'm just curious.
Yeah. So I'm a teaching assistant at SCNM, and I am a TA for physical medicine. So I help teach the doctors to be, the students on campus, about muscle testing and physical adjustments. I teach the course that, is both where you're like learning about how to palpate and learning where everybody's anatomy is and sort of feeling everything out, all the way up to doing a complete adjustment and what the contraindications are and what you need to be aware of, what the safeties and precautions are, that sort of thing. However, all of that right now is online as of this quarter. So we'll see what that looks like, because it'll be a lot less hands-on than before.
Yeah.
It looks like we got a question. L. Smith, where are the other ND programs located? So happy to tell you, in case you want extra resources, though, you can go to AANMC, I believe it's .org.
Yep.
.org. And that will give you all the information that you could ever want about naturopathic medical schools. Right now, there was one in Connecticut that closed its branch because it wasn't just a naturopathic medical college. It was, it had a bunch of other programs, but they closed their division. So there's one in Illinois, right outside Chicago. And that's called NUHS. There is Bachelor, which is right outside Seattle. That's the one I was mentioning earlier. That's in Kenmore, Washington. There is, the other one is in Portland, Oregon, and that's now, it was SCNM, but it's now NUNM. And we again, and Tempe, right outside Phoenix, Arizona, are at SCNM, Southwest College of Naturopathic Medicine.
Cool.
Yep.
Okay, let's see.
Welcome.
What would you say are the primary differences between how you practice as an ND and how MDs practice? I think you touched on this a little bit.
Yeah.
And then how are they similar?
So in the curriculum, your first 2 years are completely the exact same as your MD. There may be you have different professors and you have different testing and that sort of thing, but your 2 years are the same basic foundational sciences as an MD. So what that means is you're getting the same basic foundational sciences as your regular doctor, but then on top of learning about pharmaceuticals, you're also learning about everything natural that you could use. And the other really primary way that we're different from an allopath, and that's an MD, is you don't need air quotes, MD is a real thing, MD, allopath, is our philosophy. So naturopathic medicine has 7 different principles that we operate off of. Essentially, the biggest one is that we are trained to identify and then treat the cause of what's going on for you. A lot of times what allopathic doctors do is they use whatever tools they can, which are typically drugs and or surgery. And those are your 2 options. So that's what you're going to get. And a lot of times they don't have the resources, the time available that they would need to spend with you to really identify why what's going on for you is going on. So my favorite example, the best way to illustrate this is if somebody comes to see me for a headache and they go to see an allopath for a headache, they're going to get a pill, right, for their headache, which might give them another side effect of diarrhea, and then they'll get another pill for the diarrhea. You come to see me, there are things we can do to help your headache feel better in the meantime while we try to figure out why you have headaches, which to me just makes more sense. Before I learned what naturopathic medicine was, I was like, yeah, I want to help people. I want to be a healer. I want to know about all of this medicine and I want to be able to treat people this way, but I want to be able to figure out the why. And so that's what naturopathic doctors are, is we are investigators.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. How is naturopathic medicine a holistic practice?
Well, another one of our principles is to treat the whole person. Smoochies, I saw that. And so it's holistic in that, again, we identify what the source is of what's causing your ailments, and we look at you as a whole person. So another one of my favorite examples is if you come in and you tell me that you have knee pain, I'm not going to look at your knee and then recommend you for surgery. I'm going to do some muscle testing, figure out if I can identify where the source of the problem is, whether it's, oh, hey, this particular orthopedic test revealed to me that it might be a lateral meniscal injury, and here's the regenerative therapies we can do for that. On top of doing that, I'll look at your hip, I'll look at your ankle, I'll ask you about your spine, I'll ask you about previous traumas. You know, you're a whole person. We all are. Everything, absolutely everything is connected. So you have to think that way, and that's what we're trained to do for 4 years, is look at the whole person.
Right. How often do you find symptoms are related to emotional causes?
So that's tricky. Some people are more open to that being a possibility than others are. So if I've got somebody who's like, you know, my wife made me come in and I'm fine and I don't think anything's wrong, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to be like, well, you have low back pain because you're sad. You know, I wouldn't.
Right.
I wouldn't handle the situation that way. However, I do try to educate my patients in the way that stress can somaticize into the body, and how sometimes either undealt with traumas or emotional impact can scientifically, like, proven, store within our body tissue. So I will come at it from more of a science perspective, though admittedly some naturopaths are far more woo-woo than I am.
Okay, cool. Well, let's see. So moving on to the career path to become a naturopathic doctor, what was your undergraduate degree and how did that education help you in ND school?
Sure. So I majored in neuroscience at a school called Earlham College. So that was a pretty rigorous curriculum. But I know that there were some people in my class who majored in English and who majored in music, and it had nothing to do with health at all, and they still thrived in the program. You do have prerequisites, but in order to get into naturopathic medical school at this point, you do not have to take that pre-med test that everybody's got to take. You don't have to take that. So even if you come from a lack of a health background, that's okay. And you might just have to, you know, take some community college courses or something to fulfill all of your prerequisites. But it was studying, as far as that goes, you relearn how you study best, how you learn best. And each course can be different. So some classes I made in high school and college, you tend to study the same, right? You absorb the material just for the test, and then you move on. And so that might look like flashcards, that might look like chatting it out with one of your partners or something. But in medical school, for one course you might do a complete one sheet. For another course, you fill in and color parts of the body. For another course, you might create your own quizzes and identify, like, why, if you see this on a test, why this is going to be the wrong answer, kind of thing. So you do get creative, and a bit of your testing is knowing who's testing you and kind of the way that they're tricky, or the way that they tend to test too. But in some ways, besides the prerequisites, college wasn't, you know, I don't know that I was more prepared than my colleagues who majored in English, simply because it was all, even if you took anatomy, you know, as a neuroscience major, I took anatomy, I took physiology, I took biochemistry, I took all of those sciences, but you get through them, and if you don't use them, then you don't really need to remember, right? And so, but this is for life. You're learning for life at this point. So there's no forgetting and just taking the test and moving on.
Okay. What was the graduate application process like to get into the naturopathic school?
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. It's just a few pages of an application. Some colleges make you do an essay. You do have to submit your transcript from your college, and that'll help them determine what courses you need to take. After you submit your application, definitely call the college, not just email, but definitely call, visit if humanly possible. Of course, in our situation right now, we might not be able to for a little while, but definitely call the admissions, make sure that they got your application, and they'll always have some information they can send you to about their specific program, how it compares to other programs, and then they help you figure out what else you might need in order to get accepted.
Okay.
Is that helpful?
So did you do any like internships or research, anything like that? Was that recommended for your education path?
I did, but oh, you mean during school or before?
Either like in your undergrad or during the graduate program, like how much of that was to buffer or, you know, add to your experience?
Sure. Well, while I was going through my undergrad and I was majoring in neuroscience, I did not know that I was going to go into naturopathic medicine. My story is that I took my 3-day neuroscience comprehensive exams. I got honors in those and thought that I was going to work at WashU of St. Louis in the psychology department, in the psychiatric department, working with children. And the whole program fell through and all of my eggs were in that basket. And so I was like, oh my God, like, well, what am I going to do now? And I scrambled. So I did a Google search of natural medicine and I found the AANMC's website, and it's all history from there. I found the schools. I applied to all of them. I didn't get accepted for a few of them because they weren't sure about the prerequisites, but I went and visited them anyway. So it wasn't so much a denial as it was like, you need to take more courses before you can start our program. And that's how I found naturopathic medicine. So it's not like it's been a lifelong passion. I'm from the Midwest. We don't have many naturopathic doctors there, and those that are there are pretty new. So I didn't know what it was. So everything that I did in college that might have helped me on my application was just accidental.
Okay.
Yeah.
What would you say is your best memory from your graduate program to become an ND?
Oof. Well, you're so busy that you don't have much of a social life. That's just sort of how it goes. You learn how to balance, you learn how to get adequate rest and know when to stop studying when you're not absorbing anything anymore. But I don't know that I have one favorite memory outside of graduating when the program was all done, right?
Right.
But the cohort that you go through school with, you become so close with. And I started a practice right out of school with my best friend who I had never met outside of the program, and everything it's turned out really well. But you get these really close friends throughout it, and those are the people that are going to know your struggle the most. Your husband, your wife, your partner, your kids, your best friends, they're not going to get it because they can see you working hard some of the time, but really the only person that is really going to understand are the people that are in your class with you. So I mean, for me, that's one of the most important things in my life is building connections. And you really do that in school, and you struggle and you whine and you complain and you cry and you bleed, all the things all together. And you don't get that very often because it's a very hard program. This is not something that I would take lightly, and you will be tested significantly throughout the program to ensure that you've got what it takes, or you're dedicated enough and you're sure that you want to do it. You have paper tests, but once you're in your third year, you're in clinic and you're working with patients, and you have standardized patient exams in person. And that includes the gynecological exam, that includes a digital rectal exam, that includes all those weird, embarrassing tests. You have to make sure that you can do everything. Because you have such a wide scope, you're really tested to make sure that you're going to be safe, of course, which is important.
Right. Okay, so then after you graduate, there's a licensing process to become a licensed naturopathic doctor. What is that test like?
It looks like we've got 10 minutes. Do you see that?
Yeah.
That's really quick. Okay, so you actually have 2 board exams. Your first one is after 2 years, and you're tested over all of your basic sciences. And then the second board exams, your board step 2, is after you've graduated. So yeah, it's happy you graduate, but you still have to take this massive test in order to become licensed and practice. So that is over absolutely everything. It's not over the tiny little biochemical details anymore, but it is over every single modality you've learned, and everything is case-based. And it's a few days of testing.
Wow. Sounds a little intense. Okay, so then my last question for this section, and I was thinking something about that licensing exam too, that what happens if you fail the exam?
You retake it. Currently, there's no, I think the limit might be 3 times now, maybe 5. I can't recall, but and if you fail, it depends which part you fail. So again, it's over a few days. If you fail modality, you just have to retake the modality when it's offered again 6 months later. If you fail the major portion in the exam, any of that, then you have to retake the whole thing. So yeah, that's not fun. There are some people that have just retaken. And I knew some people who had graduated who were still taking step 1 boards from 2 years ago. Like I can't imagine having to remember all of that material to that level of detail to pass the test and be in my 4th year of medical school at the same time. So there, at some point, I think they've made a restriction, but
yeah,
many times you can take.
Yeah, I would think after taking the test like 5 or 6 times, you'd be kind of discouraged, like screw this, right?
For sure.
Does it cost money to take the exam as well?
Sure does.
Yeah. So then after you've acquired your license, are there any other particular things you have to do to set up shop to start your practice?
Some people have applied for residencies, so you just go into your residency. Other docs just go into other clinics. If you're going to start your own clinic, that's something that you need to be working on like months before you graduate, if not years before you graduate. So it depends. You don't necessarily have to do anything, but if you're going to start your own practice, there's a lot to do.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Okay, so we're going to take this moment to pause. We have a little snafu with our Zoom meeting because it is our free version. So we're going to log out, and this time I'm going to take a 5-minute break and then log back in because I need to use the bathroom. So we're going to all log out. I'm going to end the meeting and then just join again and use the exact same login and same password, okay? We'll be back. Okay, Dr. Katie, you have the spotlight. Not everyone has come back in, but it's only been 2 minutes.
Yeah, 2 minutes if you want. Cassandra and Timothy, do you want to tell me in the chat, or maybe Stephanie can unmute you, where you're at in your path, and is there something you're specifically hoping to have answered or anything?
So actually, I'm not looking to pursue a naturopathic doctor
Okay.
path.
Mhm.
So I see a naturopathic doctor, and I guess I just wanted to get a little more background information as to what is her approach. So,
Got it. Okay.
Is Ayurvedic medicine part of your education or not?
Yeah, it isn't. So there's a doctor that I work for. I work in Chandler, and I also work in Old Town Scottsdale, Arizona, and I do mostly IVs there, but she does Ayurvedic medicine and naturopathic medicine, but those are two separate degrees. There are sometimes electives you can take, but you don't end up really knowing enough to sort of pursue that whole field. You would need some extra training.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is
Yeah,
your doctor is a naturopathic doctor or an Ayurvedic practitioner?
naturopathic.
Okay.
So I'm taking a class right now, and I'm learning about Ayurvedic, and I'm thinking it's way confusing. So
Yeah, it can be confusing. It's actually, so it was first before Chinese medicine, and the language can be difficult. It's very different from English, of course. But the whole concept of like an air versus wind versus earth, sort of like element, all those elements that can affect you, that can be kind of confusing for sure, but it is helpful, and it sort of, more than anything, helps you see people in other ways outside of just, oh, this is what they look like. You learn to sort of analyze people's constitutions and their attitudes, and helps you, and there are so many Ayurvedic herbs you can use too. But that's cool that you're educating yourself and working with a naturopathic doctor already. It's definitely the wave, right? The new wave. Yeah.
yeah, it's eye-opening to me. I'm really excited that she's helping me figure out things that I never would have figured out in my medical doctor.
Yeah.
So,
Because she took a lot of time with you, and right?
yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. Cassandra, I saw your note. Very first courses this semester. Nice. Yeah. So we can do MMJ too in Arizona, by the way. So woo, that's great. Tons of my own research on herbal medicine. That's awesome. Great. That's great.
Cool.
Then, yeah. So I guess I don't see anybody else yet, but up to you about when you want to restart.
Okay. Yeah, and I've found that we lose people in that pause, so it happens. But the key is that you're still here. So we'll keep going. So let's see. Then the last section is about discussing the challenges and opportunities of alternative medicine. So maybe just a general question for now about alternative medicines. Like, for example, we are in an interesting situation with the communicable virus that we're facing right now. What kind of things can you do as an alternative practitioner that the medical model doesn't even think of for something like this?
So tricky there. The trickiness of recommendations right now in the face of COVID-19 is that it's, well, multifold. One of which is that there's a lot of censorship occurring. So you can't really say on your social media posts, and a lot of people do, but they'll get taken down sometimes, is like, hey, take this herb, this will help with this. And I can leave you with one recommendation above anything else. It would be that anybody is claiming to you that they know what will cure COVID-19, or they know what will, even if they say help treat it, do not trust that. Yes, coronavirus is a family. It's a not a new family of virus. We've had this before. However, COVID-19 is the name of the disease, and that is new. This is new. Whether or not you believe in the conspiracy theories of the government creating it and whatever, we do not have enough research. We don't have any studies that have been done over long periods of time to identify a cause, a cure, let alone a treatment.
Okay.
Having said that, naturopathic medicine can help, and this phrasing here is very particular, can help to boost your immune system so that it can mount the best response it can. So I heard that COVID-19 has been here since December. Yes, there were confirmed cases in China last December. Things that you can do include intaking vitamin C. However, when you take ascorbic acid orally, you at some point will have diarrheal effects. So you take that to bowel tolerance. Other things that have been proven to help in an antiviral in a general aspect include things like glutathione, zinc, a handful of herbs. But again, this is not, anything that I'm saying is not, okay, go to the stores and go buy all of that and start doing all of that. That's not, we don't have enough information about this virus, period.
Right.
And anybody who's saying, yes, this is your magic thing, eat broccoli and drink green tea, like 100%, like return to those whole food diets and eat as cleanly as you can right now and stay hydrated. Do the things that you know that support your personal immune system the best so that you can mount your strongest immune response should you be affected by COVID-19. So
Okay, cool.
very, very particular word.
Right. Okay, so coming back to, let's get back to the conversation. Who is your ideal client?
Well, that's a good question because we don't see everybody. There are a fair number of people that seem to want an alternative perspective, but aren't really ready to make changes in their life to comply with what a naturopathic medical doctor recommends. A lot of times, what we'll do is we'll run like a food sensitivity panel on somebody. So that's a very simple blood test, one tube of blood. It gets sent in for 198 different foods and spices and all of that. And then we can see what you're particularly sensitive to. And if it comes back that you're sensitive to the things that you commonly eat because you love them, such as beer, cheese, gluten, all those like most allergenic substances, some people aren't ready to make that change. And I work with some of my favorite patients, like just will not give up the cheese. They won't. And I'm like, you're not going to get better. Like you're causing inflammation in your system every single time you eat this. So, and these changes are not permanent. We've had these discussions. You only have to avoid them for like 2 months. You can totally do this. And so you do what you can to empower your patients, but there are some people that aren't ready. So as far as the ideal patient goes, it's somebody who's really sick of how they've been feeling and they're ready to find out why they feel that way and then also do their part, hold up their end of the deal and make their changes to their life that they need to, and remember to take supplements or, stay, fill out a diet diary or, do the things. We have a lot of like lifestyle recommendations that we recommend for our patients. So, you've got to have a certain level of self-awareness too, I would say. Hey, I ate yogurt and granola and chia seeds at 7 in the morning, and then lo and behold, it's 7:45. I had some stomach pain, and every time it seems like I eat chia seeds, I get stomach pain. You know, it takes a little bit of body awareness as well. However, we're great at teaching people how to become more aware and sort of sit with yourself and slow down. And so you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be, perfect human, except you have headaches, like anybody who's dealt with chronic issues or acute issues, but they can't get answers and they're sick of feeling like garbage. That's who we tend to see and who our work flourishes with.
Yeah. Okay, so then what is the most challenging aspect of running your business?
100% convincing people of its value.
Do you think that's changing as time has gone on? People are becoming more understanding and accepting?
Yeah. Part of that is the cost. I say cost like with a heavy money symbol in that. Some people think, okay, well, I'm not spending over $200 on a naturopathic doctor who's going to identify anything. I don't care. I don't have that right now, which is one thing, versus I'd rather go see an MD and pay my $20 copay and maybe get a drug, which might make me feel better immediately. We're all about instant gratification in this society. So part of my intake form includes something about how committed are you to your health and wellness. I want to know how committed you are, because I need to know whether the changes that we're going to make and the time that I'm going to spend with you is going to be worth it. Because I don't want to waste my time either. I don't want you to waste your time. I don't want you to waste your resources, but I don't want to waste mine either. So how committed are you to your health, and how sick of feeling the way that you've been feeling are you truly? Until we take insurance, and that might change a lot of our dynamic with our patients. It is upfront costly. But if you are a person that values your health and wellness and wants to feel as great as you can, like feel as optimally as your system will allow, then it doesn't matter what the cost is, right? I mean, if somebody told me like, hey, I will ensure that you never are constipated or have a headache ever again, and I'll be like, perfect. Like, what do we have to do? Like, I don't want to feel that way. But some people think that they want to feel better, but just purely can't afford it some of the time. So cost without and needing to explain to someone the value of your service is tough, because you're like, the value, how much how much you can help somebody, but it's whether or not they feel that they will give you the opportunity to show them.
Right. Okay. So then, thinking about like how you create sustainability in your business, what kind of business partnerships have you built with other practitioners?
Oh, okay. Well, I'm with another ND, and in our practice, we have a masseuse and we have a yoga instructor. So we cross-refer there. I am pretty well integrated into the queer community in Arizona. There's not a lot of naturopaths that help fulfill the needs of that particular community, because there's such a bias and there's such a lack of understanding there. And so I am networked with a lot of the organizations that support education and support the political side of things, 501c3s, 501c4s, integrated into that. So whatever your little niche, people say that differently. When you graduate and you're able to call yourself a doctor, because it's hard to network before that, right? You're like, well, I'm a medical student, I'm about to be a doctor, but I'm not really a doctor, so you can't send me people yet. Like, it's messy. So you can really only network after you're licensed and ready to go. You figure out the population that you want to serve, and you go find those organizations that serve that population. So, I met you, Stephanie, through Which one?
Arizona.
Equality. I'm like, I'm with so many. I'm like, where did I first see you? Equality, Arizona. And I have a talk tomorrow. I'm going Instagram live with a group called Ignite located out of Phoenix, Arizona. I work for the board. I work for the state. So I did a lot of stuff in school too, to help. You can volunteer with those organizations that you're trying to get into before you can actually be referred to them. So,
right.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. And then what type of opportunities do you see for the future of alternative medicine?
We're going up, baby. We're integrative medicine is the way. It's the future. And I think we're going to find that through this crisis as well, because while Trump's talking about what drug to use, and I don't know if you guys heard about this, maybe it's just because I'm in Arizona, but so an anti-malarial drug called hydroxychloroquine, somebody from Arizona read on the back of their fish tank cleaner ingredients that there was chloroquine in there, and he drank it and his wife drank it or consumed it somehow, and he died and his wife was hospitalized. And so it's just, it's while Trump is spouting stuff about what drugs are going to be available, you can't trust that either, right? Because he doesn't work for the FDA, he doesn't work for the CDC, he doesn't know specifically, and those might be available. They might work for everybody, but more than likely what's really going to work is this social distancing and staying at home and supporting your immune system and taking care of yourself. Deal with insurance and naturopathic medicine. Sorry, yes, Cassandra. So as far as insurance companies go, it depends on where you are. If you are a naturopathic doctor licensed in Arizona and working at the medical college, the teaching college, across the board, that teaching clinic accepts Cigna insurance for whatever reason. Cigna and them are. However, all of your blood work is covered by insurance. If you're a patient, your blood work is covered by insurance. If for some reason it comes back and says that you owe something, that's either your deductible that you haven't met, or that is something that the doctor can fix coding wise. That goes the same for any type of imaging that you order. That's usually covered by insurance as well. And outside of that, if you want to be a provider for a different insurance company, you kind of have to navigate that on your own, unfortunately, at this point. We are in Arizona allowed to be considered primary care physicians for anyone under 18 who has access, which is the Medicaid. Right? Medicaid, yeah. I always get those flip-flop because Medicare is for the elderly, right? So Medicaid.
Exactly.
Medicaid group. So some doctors will accept that form of insurance too. On top of that, your patients will pay. We're cash-based practice. They'll pay up front, and then you can give them a form to submit to their insurance for reimbursement for that appointment. So it's up to the insurance companies too at a certain point about whether they recognize naturopathic doctors state by state as specialists or not.
Okay. What about like HSAs, like healthcare spending accounts?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Another question, how did you decide to open your own practice versus working at someone else's practice? And what were some of the considerations?
Yeah, so when I first got out, I joined an existing practice, but they were very new too. So it was essentially like we all were starting this new venture together. It ended up being kind of too many, what is that expression? Too many hens in the hen house.
Cooks in the kitchen, yeah.
Too many cooks in the kitchen, and we had different ideas about how we wanted the practice to run. So I was at a facility for a year, and they ended up going in more of a med spa direction. So that's more like aesthetics and stuff, which, by the way, you can also do as a licensed naturopathic doctor. It's just extra training. So is the regenerative medicine, by the way. You do get orthopedic testing and you know how to do adjustments and everything, but you do need to go outside of your curriculum to get extra training for regenerative injections. Anyway, I ended up leaving just because the only thing I'm certified in doing is Botox, and I don't do any of the fillers or any of the other crazier stuff like that. So I left with somebody else who was also at that practice. We just had a different vision. We are more hippie, I guess. You know, you might say like more woo-woo or something, hence the yoga instructor, and the more like mind-body sentiment. The indies that we worked there were practicing more what's now nicknamed as green allopathy. So it's essentially, yeah, I'm going to draw your labs, I'm going to look at the values and tell you what's optimal, and I'm going to put you on medications and supplements, and we're not really going to like work on figuring out what the cause is. So really it was just a matter of a difference in the way that you want to practice. A lot of the older naturopaths who are like water cure doctors who did a lot of hydrotherapy and a lot of like really basic, just fundamental constitutional treatments. They don't think we should have any prescribing rights, or they just think it's sort of coloring the way that naturopathic medicine is viewed and how it's practiced. So we're somewhere more in the middle, I would like to say, compared to, you know, that severe all the way over to green allopathy. You know, this Dr. Christina Greengard and I are somewhere more in the middle.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, then, since you brought up yoga, how do you think your yoga practice and that experience leads into your naturopathic practice?
Well, I've been practicing yoga for 10 years now or so. That's sort of how I came to understand myself and understand where my body is in space and how I feel and what's going on for me. Having a experience with some practitioners that were, you know, had the sound healing bowls out and had, you know, the gongs and incense and all that stuff. I didn't have a lot of exposure to that in the Midwest. So
Right.
That was probably just really the only maybe connection outside of that is just from the woo-woo side. It was my, you know, introduction into all of that. Now I use it to ground myself, to balance myself, to establish sort of an energetic boundary between my patients and I. If you're on this call, you're likely somebody who's constantly giving to others and maybe not so much to yourself, and has a hard time establishing a boundary of like, I'm so sorry, I really can't help you right now. You know, I've really got to help myself. I've got to take care of myself. It's likely, as a natural healer, as a person interested in alternative medicine, that's the kind of person that you are. And so that's something that they don't teach you in school, is how to keep yourself safe and how to not over give. And so for me, yoga is my sort of meditative practice on top of occasionally meditating, like I demand all my patients do. It's a way to connect with myself and stay grounded despite hearing a lot of stuff. Because as a naturopathic doctor, you're going to hear stuff from your patients that they'll tell you they haven't told anybody before, because you're the first person that really sits and listens to them and takes the time to hear about their story and hear about everything they are. I joke that, you know, when you leave an appointment with your ND, you guys are best friends. And there, of course, is that patient-doctor appropriate relationship, but truly, you know everything that the patient is willing to tell you about their life. And you've got to make sure that you're not absorbing too much of that. And that can be difficult as people that are healers and are kind in general. It looks like we have a question.
Yeah, what would you do differently, or advice for those who are considering this path?
Take a look at how much it costs and make sure that you really want to do it. I'm not gonna lie to you about that. It's a lot of debt. You won't be in that much debt if you have a partner who's supportive and is still working, if you're able to work and sort of pay some of your tuition as you go, but it's a lot of money. And it can feel really overwhelming when you graduate and they kick you in the butt out the door, and they're like, all right, go practice. And you're like, but what do you mean?
Yeah, 6 months later, you got to start paying on those loans, right?
Right. Yeah, you only have 6 months after you graduate. That includes the time you're studying for boards. So that is something that I would say to consider strongly, is make sure that this is really something that you want to do. There is no age limit on this. There's no expiration date. If you're someone who's older or someone who's really young, if you come right out of college, if you come out of a 20-year career path, all of that is okay. Just be sure that you want to do it and that you're dedicated. And as you go through the program, you're going to have to remind yourself of your why, because it's going to feel like you're a professional student and you're like, why did I do this? But if you're connected to what you got into the program for, and maybe somebody in your family had a health condition and they had a really bad experience in their past now, or maybe there's somebody who's still in a really shitty situation and you want to help them as quickly as you can and you want to get through this program, that's great. Just hold on to that, because this is an extremely rigorous program. It is the hardest thing that I've done, and I'm younger, but Mary, I'm from Indiana. But again, just be sure that you're sure.
Yeah.
And shadow. So a way to figure that out, if you're like, well, how could I possibly know, is go shadow people in the field. Shadow a health coach, shadow a naturopathic doctor, shadow an acupuncturist, shadow an herbalist. See if what you really want to do can be fulfilled by either something that takes less time or is less costly, and figure out if their day-to-day is what you want your day-to-day to look like.
That's good advice.
Yeah.
Definitely. Well, that's the end of my questions. Is there anything else that you want to share about naturopathic medicine in general or the education path? We covered a lot. Yeah. Sorry, guys. I'm a talker. I don't think so. I mean, I'm here if you have any questions. Hopefully you'll get my info, but in case you want to write it down or type it into an email really quick, it's hello@inclusivenaturalmedicine.com. I'll share something in the chat really quickly, just in case more people had specific questions about the virus we shall not name. I've created a presentation that I update every single day. And it has everything from the way that the virus works that we know of to how it affects our everyday life, and some tips on staying anxiety free, and why it's so scary. And there's, for those that have kids, there's like, here's some things you can do with your kids. Anyway, there's the Google Share link. Feel free to share that with other people if you've got people asking you about what to do. There's just some information. That's great. Okay, any other questions from the audience before we sign off?
Make sure nobody's typing. Do you want to unmute them just in case?
Thank you for your
ready.
question. Can I do like a mass unmute? That would be so helpful. Unmute all. Oh, look at that. Now we can hear everyone.
Awesome. Cassandra's like, I'm staying muted. I'm in public.
Thank you so much for your time.
Welcome. If anybody has any questions that comes up later, or you want to know more information or have a personal story or something you want to share, that's what this crazy time right now is for, is all about connection and stuff. So I'm here for your questions if you have any.
Cool. Yeah, I put your email address as you were saying it into the chat.
Okay.
And well, yeah, thank you everyone for attending tonight. We do have a YouTube channel that we're uploading our learning opportunities to. So if you had a chance to participate in the last meeting, I just got that uploaded today. because I have so much time on my hands. And yeah, if you're interested in more information about the club, reach out to me. We have a Facebook group, and we're also on Sun Devil Sync. And I can't think of anything else to share about the club. Are you taking appointments right now, Katie?
I am, and the rules have been changed, laws have been changed so that we can establish care over the internet, and I don't have to see you in person the first time. So if that's something, then of course, yeah.
Great. Can you treat remotely if somebody wanted to see you from another state?
Yep, it depends on what they're looking for advice for and which state they're in and whether indies are licensed there. That's a whole other topic we didn't hit on.
Right.
But yeah, depending on the situation, there are things I can recommend, and I just, that would be more of like a health consultation sort of situation depending on the state. But there's a lot I can do from over here. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you so much. This has been great. And yeah, let's keep in touch.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You.
Yeah. Have a good night.